Today on PhillyCAM Voices, work is underway to create new centers for teenagers who break curfew in the city of Philadelphia. And going back to school, what are some of the challenges facing the Philadelphia School District as students head back to the classroom with surging COVID cases? Good evening, and thank you for tuning in to PhillyCAM Voices. I'm your host, Amanda Johnson. The city of Philadelphia is taking steps to open 3 resource centers for teenagers who violate curfew. Reporter Tom Reese explains why city leaders say now is the time for change.
In early August, Mayor Jim Kenney signed a curfew reform bill into law. Introduced earlier this summer by at-large City Council member Catherine Gilmore Richardson, the bill aimed to simplify curfew times and to provide funding for community resource evening centers for the upcoming budget. Funding for these centers, or CRECs, was approved for nearly $2 million to be split across 3 pilot locations. The bill also removes fines for curfew violations that families were forced to pay. Failure to pay fines could sometimes lead to more drastic penalties. Philadelphia hasn't seen evening resource centers since 2008, when Mayor Michael Nutter chose to end the city's program. Kendra Vandewater, co-founder of the youth empowerment organization Yeah Philly, had this to say about the program's removal.
So I don't think that investing in young people is something that we say is too expensive, right? Like, we have the issue of we don't invest enough in young people. And when we don't have programs that young people actually want to show up to, why would we continue to pour money into, but also think about how we're providing these programs? So I get that people are saying, oh, it may be a waste of money, but it's really not on the young person utilizing it. It's on the center to make sure that they are able to support young people and have a space where young people want to go.
After curfew centers were closed in 2008, children were taken to police stations when parents or guardians couldn't be reached. Now, the new centers will begin operating on October 1st. The organizations and exact locations have yet to be chosen. PhillyCAM was able to speak with the bill's sponsor. Councilmember Gilmore Richardson said that an unnecessary introduction to the criminal justice system was one main reason for introducing changes to curfew. Anti-violence prevention was another important determining factor.
The locations were selected based on the data we have relative to the levels of gun violence in a community mixed with the amount of curfew violations we see in those communities. So our goal is really to address the communities who are most in need of service and align the resources from the community resource centers and other anti-violence initiatives to those communities. And I think what's really important, what we're calling the CRECs, is that there's a component where they must provide transportation for young people who need to be taken home. And what that will do will help us to really decrease the amount of negative interactions that young people could potentially have with our criminal justice system.
Although Philadelphia police are less involved in the curfew violation process, the city is involved in other ways via the Department of Human Services. Some youth advocates, like Vandewater with Yeah Philly, said that this is a beneficial step. However, there's still hesitancy about city agency and system involvement.
No, I don't think anybody should have to pay a fine for a curfew. And I think about my own story, which is even why I do this work. When I was a teenager, I got stopped by the police for a curfew violation, waiting for my mom to pick me up from a birthday party in the 22nd Police District. And it ended up me being severely beat by the police and being in a juvenile detention center. So this is unacceptable to me. And while we think about ways to eliminate police contact with young people, I think we have to think further around what they're actually getting from the community centers, but also not pushing them further into the system and penalizing parents and teens as well.
Sure. So, what I think is important to understand is that every contract opportunity that comes from the city sort of is filtered through a department. And because the community evening resource centers are seeking to help young people who are minors who may be in violation of curfew, we partner with the Department of Human Services, who works to help our young people in the city of Philadelphia. So, the centers will be run by the organizations that are chosen. Those organizations will have to partner with community-based organizations as well as a faith-based organization in that area. So there will be minimal DHS involvement as far as running the center on a day-to-day basis. They are simply working through the RFP process and will be there as a resource if young people need additional supports.
I don't know. I think there needs to be a lot more work and trust rebuilt with the city and the organizations that are overseeing and implementing this. So it's not just something like, yes, we need it. We serve young people, it's a good idea in theory, but I'm not convinced. And I think that there should be a lot more thought into what's the next step after the fact.
The York Daily Record reported on Philadelphia's Department of Human Services in April of this year. Philly ranks highest among the country's 10 largest cities in child removal. The article reports that not all of those removals were due to child abuse. Hesitancy around the organization's involvement comes in part from this rate of removal from families in low-income communities. Some parents could be working late hours or not be able to afford childcare. This, in turn, could lead to families being separated should an agency like DHS find cause to intervene. At the very least, there's relief over streamlined curfew times and the fact that fines are no longer a part of enforcement in Philadelphia. When organizations are chosen next month, the 3 pilot programs will be evaluated for effectiveness over 1 year before new contracts are drawn up. Reporting for PhillyCAM Voices, I'm Tom Reese.
That was great information. And tonight we hear from a pioneer in women's soccer, Rosalda Ruth Bull. She came to Philadelphia 20 years ago and started a women's soccer academy. She tells her story in her own words.
Hola, muy buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Rosalba Ruth Bull. Soy de Cancún, Quintana Roo, orgullosamente cancunense. Vengo de padre hondureño, madre mexicana de Yucatán, Mérida. Me vine aquí a Filadelfia en el 2000. Aquí iniciando el deporte, el fútbol femenil. Sí, yo ya jugaba en el selectivo de Cancún, Quintana Roo. Pero anteriormente, desde 1997, yo ya practicaba este deporte. Entrenaba con el H Ayuntamiento Benito Juárez, que es tercera división profesional de varones. Y fue donde ya agarré más experiencia y más fuerte. Yo pienso que como mujeres, la única diferencia cambia el sexo. Pero en lo que es por qué me gustó, a mí me gustan todos los deportes. Yo practicaba el atletismo, jugaba el softball profesional igual. Y por parte del papá de mi hijo, que es mi esposo, que él fue jugador profesional segunda división igual, Enrique Pacheco, que en paz descanse, él pues iba a ver sus partidos de fútbol y veía que el fútbol es un deporte muy, muy alegre, tiene mucho ambiente y mucha energía, mucha felicidad. No hay como el fútbol soccer, la verdad. Entonces me incliné yo en ese deporte y en base a eso, me invitaron a formar parte del selectivo de Quintana Roo. No se me olvida el nombre todavía de un amigo que se llama Adán. Me vio jugar y ya empecé jugando con hombres igual. Y fue donde él me dijo, oye, ¿por qué no haces equipos de mujeres o algo así? Yo pues dije, no sé, yo no conocía muchos latinos ahí. Pero le digo, bueno, si yo lo hago, me echas la mano, ¿me ayudarías? Me dijo, sí, claro, buscamos equipos, le iniciamos. Fue donde yo inicié con el equipo de mujeres. Antes de venir aquí, yo tuve cursos de entrenadora y de arbitraje. Como te dije, me enfoqué mucho en lo que es el fútbol, el deporte. Y pues hablé con los papás y hicimos unos 4 o 5 equipitos, yo me acuerdo. Cada quien armó su equipo, entre ellos, por vez primera amamos uno de niños que de todos ninguno sabía jugar bien, pero había uno que sí daba batalla. Y como eran tan tiernos, digo, ¿y qué te parece si les ponemos sus caritas? Porque, pues, ¿qué otro? Como, ¿qué eso? Pues como el cereal, le digo, pues son niños. Va, pues por vez primera armamos y sí, sus caritas dieron batalla. Ahorita no hay, ¿cómo se dice? Es difícil que hayan categorías de niñas por edades, no hay muchas niñas que juegan el fútbol. De la liga de las mujeres es libre, no hay edades, es niñas que saben jugar, se les respeta, siempre, tú sabes, no entrarle suave, ahí todos, la idea es que todos jueguen, tanto como la mamá, como hasta la nuera, hasta la novia del hijo, hasta la abuelita juega, porque he visto abuelitas que juegan ahí. La mamá, la abuelita, la tía, la sobrina, la prima, es toda la comunidad. O sea, algo bien bonito que se ponían los domingos. Yo he llegado a tener hasta 2 equipos femeniles. No puede llegar más, es muy difícil. Está creciendo, pero sí está creciendo. A mí me da mucho gusto ver que las mujeres ahorita ya tienen mucho auge en el fútbol. Yo veo que antes, cuando empezó el fútbol femenil, pues tú sabes, es un deporte que a ellas les gusta, pero eso requiere práctica, entrenamiento, decirles cómo pararte en la cancha, cómo sacar un balón, cómo patear. Entonces el balón siempre estaba afuera, casi nunca estaba dentro de la cancha. Y ahorita ya veo que ya todos tienen un buen estilo de juego, todos juegan y hasta gusto de verlas jugar. Lo queremos manejar como, ya ves que el fútbol es alegre, es mucha motivación y energía. Lo queremos manejar como paquetes de vacaciones incluyendo el torneo de fútbol. ¿Qué quiere decir? Vacaciones que incluya hotel, con todo incluido, vayan a la playa y vayan a sus respectivos juegos, terminando la competencia, es libre, se pone muy divertido. No, inició el torneo femenil, ¿ves? De repente habían chicas que sí confiaban en comentar, ay, pero es que mi marido no me deja. Y pues yo de repente encontraba al marido, déjale ya jugar fútbol, ¿qué tiene de malo? Así los vacilaba, pero doble sentido, ¿no? O sea, tú te vas todo el domingo a jugar y ahí tienes a tu mujer ahí encerrada en la casa. ¿Quieres ser feliz en tu matrimonio? Dala feliz a ella, déjala salir a estirar la pierna, a sudar, a quitarse estrés de toda la semana. Pues mi invitación abierta es para las niñas latinas de a mi alrededor. Yo lanzaré la invitación para que vengan las primeras niñas, para que se prueben, para ser parte del equipo Tuzas Filadelfia. Voy a actualizar mi website, ya que esto se formalice bien, y invitarlos con los brazos abiertos. Quiero que sean alguien como yo, sí.
Philadelphia students are back in the classroom starting a new school year with the pandemic still with us and COVID cases rising. Chalk Beat senior reporter Dale Mezzacappa joins us to discuss some of the challenges facing the Philadelphia School District. Welcome, Dale.
Hi, Amanda. Thanks for having me.
It is a pleasure so that we can hear about and update some of our viewers on what is going on in the school district. So, Philadelphia's public school district started school on Tuesday, August 31st. Are all the students required to return for in-person, or is it mixed virtual versus in-person learning?
Well, it's all in person. The school district did give it did extend, it has a virtual academy, and it did extend those grades from 6 to 12 to kindergarten through 12. And if students wanted to, they could enroll in the virtual academy, but it wasn't the same at all as what occurred last year, which was which was so-called hybrid learning, a mixture of online learning and in-person learning. The students who choose virtual they have to disenroll from their home school, who choose the virtual academy, and they have contact with teachers and access to teachers, but they're not given live lessons. They basically are given a packet of work to do, and they do it on their own time. So basically, students, yes, are expected to be in the classroom. about less than 1,500 students out of more than 120,000 chose the virtual academy. They can also choose one of the cyber charter schools that exist in Philadelphia, and there's quite a few students in those, but not clear how many additional students because of the pandemic. But anyway, they are expected to be back in their classrooms.
Okay. Since safety for the students is top priority, what are the safety protocols the school districts have put in place for the kids?
So first of all, even before Governor Wolf issued an order that all students, people in schools had to be masked, the school district decided that all teachers and students and all staff had to wear masks in the building. So that's the first safety. They're also testing staff members weekly. They are testing students who are symptomatic. They are asking parents to sort of do a check of their students before sending them to school, making sure that they don't have any symptoms. But they are not testing, at least as of now, as of the time that we're speaking, they're not testing all students regularly. They're only testing students who appear to show symptoms. They are trying to socially distance as much as they can, but the latest CDC recommendation is 3 feet. But that's going to be very hard in some schools, which have large classes and the classrooms aren't that big. And then there's the hallways. So a lot of the safety has been left up, in terms of how to deal with the lunch, when students aren't masked, where students and how students eat, all that sort of thing is up to local schools. The teachers union has been urging the district, as I said, of this time of this taping, they haven't agreed to test all students regularly. They have promised that they will, obviously following city health guidelines, if there's positive cases, they will inform everyone who has come in contact. They will inform everyone in the school that there has been a positive case in the school, and then they will follow health guidelines, health department guidelines as to whether there's a quote unquote outbreak. Anyone who tests positive must quarantine. There's contact tracing done where people who have been determined to have been in close contact with a positive case are informed. And then the Department of Health will decide if a classroom should close, a school should close. So that's basically the safety precautions that they're taking. The emphasis has been on the part of the superintendent and others that it's a health issue to have students back in school also because of the upheaval in students' lives for not being in school for so long, their social and emotional health. So that being in school, being with their friends, getting live instruction with their teachers is a matter of helping them to maintain their mental health as well as physical health, and that they're doing their best to balance those things.
Okay. Now, I know that he asked them to wear masks, but are they requiring the students to wear masks?
They are requiring the students to wear masks. They're requiring everyone in the school building to wear masks. The enforcement, I guess, will be up to each school. I mean, how stringently it's going to be enforced. But the rule is that all students and teachers and staff must wear masks inside the school building.
Okay, so we're gonna hit that touchy question right now. Are they going to require them to be vaccinated?
So they cannot require students to be vaccinated. And as you know, as of now, students under 12 cannot be vaccinated. There is no approved vaccine for them. And as far as the older students, they cannot require it. They cannot technically require the teachers or the staff either. And they as I said, of this taping, are negotiating with the unions about a vaccine mandate. The Board of Education in late August approved a vaccine mandate. And the Philadelphia Federation of Teachers, the largest union in the district, and the union that represents principals, the Commonwealth of School Administrators, Commonwealth Association of School Administrators, has also indicated their support for some kind of a mandate, but they want to make sure that there are exceptions for religious reasons or health reasons, that they want to negotiate the terms of such a mandate to make sure that each employee's rights are followed. The leader of the union that represents people who are like the food workers and a lot of cleaners, paraprofessionals, people like that, was more hostile toward a mandate, saying that a lot of her members who are part-time, who are low paid, to sort of put the burden on them of having to be vaccinated in order to keep their jobs was unfair. I don't know how that is going to shake out, but the likelihood is a mandate will be negotiated between the unions that represent the educators within, hopefully very shortly after school opens.
Okay. So I know that they're wearing the mask, but can you share with us some of the other safety protocols or things that have been set in the building to help keep the spread of the virus down?
Well, they're promising there are hand sanitizers everywhere, more cleaning than usual. As I said before, trying to maintain, where possible, the 3-foot social distancing, the regular testing of employees, the testing of symptomatic students. So those, those are the precautions that they are taking as much as they can to mitigate any spread. And the steps they're taking to try to maximize the people in the building who are vaccinated.
Okay. All right. You kind of touched on it a few seconds ago, but just kind of walk us through the 3 areas and how people are responding. How are the parents feeling about the going back to school? Yay or nay for masks? How are the teachers feeling about it? And then how is the district feeling about it? You can kind of just give us an overall of where the pushback is and where the people are more excited about the mask or just going back to school.
Yeah, the district has been quite forceful in its in saying that it's time that we resume in-person learning. There's been too much learning loss. There's been too much trauma. There's been too much of students not being socialized, and full-time in-person learning is the goal for the year, as far as the district is going. At the same time, they're trying to give assurances that they are following as much of the safety protocols that they can. And if you go to their website, they have a quite detailed listing of all the things that they're doing. The teachers, as I said, unlike in other places, there has not been a lot of public outcry, either on the part of teachers or parents in Philadelphia over masking requirements. That just hasn't risen to the top of the agenda for anybody that has, that there have been public meetings where people berate the school board over mask requirements, which has happened in districts around Philadelphia. So that really hasn't happened here. Although, as I mentioned, the teachers and the teachers union in the district are disagreeing to the extent to which students should be tested. One of the things that the teachers union individual teachers and the district are at odds about are the overall safety of the school buildings, which are issues that predate COVID. They're concerned about issues like asbestos, loose asbestos in buildings. During the time that the school district, that the schools were closed, which was for the most part more than a year, since March of 2020, a lot of work was done in the school buildings to try to asbestos abatement projects. But the district hasn't really given a full accounting of all the projects that have been done. And there have been issues with, for instance, one school, SLA Beaver, which is in the Winfield section of the city in West Philly, where they had ongoing work and they were going to have students use porta potties, and it was a mess. And basically parents rebelled against that, and they are now relocating the younger students in that school, which goes, I think, from 5th grade to 12th, to another school building. And they, have made adjustments because some of the school buildings, for all the work that they've been doing, continue to have active remodeling essentially being done while students are in the building. And there's been a lot of union members, teachers and parents and advocates have complained that the district is not being forthcoming with all the data that they want to assure, so that they can feel very certain that their building is safe. One of the places where this has been most controversial is at Masterman School, which is a middle school. It's a selective middle school where the teachers spent a few days working out before the students arrived outside the building, saying they didn't feel safe going inside, and they wanted more inspections on the part of the union's environmental consultant so that they would feel that potential hazards in the building have been remediated. So there's a lot of tension around the condition of these old buildings, and whether the district has been doing the work that needs to be done to make them safe, or whether they've been doing it competently, or whether they've been sharing enough information with the school communities about what they are doing so that they can feel that the buildings are safe. And that's all aside from the issues relating to COVID and the degree to which COVID precautions are sufficient.
Well, Dale, time flies when we're having good questions and good information. So if someone is having an issue real quick, can you just kind of give them some sites to go through to get some questions answered?
Well, I mean, as I said, if you go to philasd.org, and usually right at the very top of their homepage, they will tell you, go here for, COVID protocols. And they have many portals that you can click on that will lead you to, frequently asked questions, that answer the very questions that we've been discussing now. So, I would just recommend that they go to philasd.org and look at the top. There's, let me just see if I can actually do it for you here and show you like what's right on their homepage.
No, the website is fine because I'm pretty sure people are on that all the time. So that is perfect.
Right. Yeah. Well, they do have a whole set of pages that go over the that have a lot of information about who you can ask, where you should call, and what the process and procedures are, and what should be happening in your child's school.
Awesome. Well, Dale, I thank you. Thank you for your wealth of information that you have provided the viewers. So thank you so much for joining us.
Well, again, thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you for tuning into this episode. You can continue to watch our shows on YouTube and Roku, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Until next time, see ya.